The echo of the marksman's gunfire and the smell of those pyres and the fear of who would be hit next, as my colleague Alison Freeman reports.
It was an epidemic that shattered farming, and it started here at Bobby Waff's farm in Northumberland. 10 years ago this weekend, that first case of foot and mouth was confirmed. The actions of a farmer who failed to alert the authorities quickly of his sick pigs led to millions of animals being slaughtered across the UK. It brought the countryside to a halt, ruining businesses and lives.
When you say it's devastating, that, God, my heart goes out to them people that's gone through the same as what we've gone through these last 4 or 5 days. God, it's so hard.
There was anger over the way the authorities dealt with the foot and mouth outbreak. Farmers left dumbfounded by the bureaucracy created to manage the crisis.
People are far less trusting now that those in authority actually know the right thing to do all the time. I think people are much more questioning now. And I think that people were furious, absolutely furious at the time, and that they might not have the same confidence in organisations, national organisations, that they did before.
The 10-year anniversary brings back bitter memories for those affected. Many who lived through it say they have moved on from what was Britain's worst outbreak of the disease. Alison Freeman, BBC News.
Well, here at Watch Tree Nature Reserve, they certainly have moved on. It's difficult to believe that 500,000 animals are actually buried near here. The transformation is so complete. With me is one man that's helped make that transformation, Frank Mowbray. Hello. It's been quite a difficult time to kind of transform this place, but this is what people wanted here, to make it into something beautiful, wasn't it?
Yes, very much so. The local people were very concerned about the stigma that this site might have, and DEFRA consulted with them. They had a local referendum, and overwhelmingly people wanted it to be a nature reserve, and the minister at the time, Margaret Beckett, agreed. So DEFRA then employed some local ecologists and set about creating a nature. It's about 204 acres. About half of it was planted as woodland, around 2 existing small woodlands, and the rest is a semi-natural grassland. And then there's some wetland, which is part of also the operational. We became involved in 2004, that the local people might want to manage it. So we formed a group, 7 of us agreed to go ahead, and we formed a not-for-profit company in 2004, and then trial period with them for a year, and then in 2006 we commenced a 10-year land funding agreement and a 25-year lease on the site.
And it just looks superb. I mean, driving through, you can see fields, you can see woodland. It's hard to believe that near here there are 500,000 animals buried. It gives me the shivers because I remember being here at the time. But you say people here have moved on?
People have. There's still a lot of local farmers who won't come here. It raises too many ghosts for them. We get lots of WIs here, and they go away saying, well, that's laid a few ghosts to rest for. And we've developed public access. We've got a nature reserve manager who's very keen on. He's got lots of schools up here doing curriculum-related activities. And we've recently got an access and development officer, and he's developed our Watch Tree Wilderness project. We've got a 1-mile cycling for disabled and disadvantaged people.
It all sounds absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much, Frank. So as you can hear, people have tried to move on, and the government also says it has learnt lessons after 3 separate inquiries. It's learnt lessons after the last outbreak.
Laura, thank you very much for that.
You later on. 6:43, you're watching Breakfast from BBC News. Let's update you on our main this morning. David Cameron and his deputy Nick Clegg will today set out their opposing views on proposals for electoral change, which will be put to voters on May the 5th.
Troops are out in force on the streets of Bahrain as the families of those killed in yesterday's violence prepare for their funerals.
Also coming up, difficult decisions in a tough climate. Councils consider which cuts to make. Robert Hall is in Southampton.
Yes, indeed. Join me in a little while because we've been given a rare glimpse inside City Hall as councillors here prepared a controversial budget which will save services and jobs by cutting pay.
The weather now, Carol, and special attention, please, to those with the ability of seeing the Northern Lights.
Well, maybe in the very far northwest of Scotland, because there is cloud around, not just today, but right the way through the weekend. In fact, it's not just cold today, it's also cloudy. We will see a little bit of sunshine, especially in parts of England and Wales, but it's going to be at a premium. You can see all the cloud in the satellite picture. This big line of cloud in the Atlantic is coming up, and it's going to bring in some rain and also some snow. But before that, in the southeast, a cloudy start to the day, 1 or 2 holes at the moment, for example, in Kent, so a brighter start here. Into the southwest, though, we're back under this veil of cloud and quite damp, quite murky as well. For Wales, a cloudy too across the Pennines into the northwest of England generally, and then across the Isle of Man and into Northern Ireland. Again, a veil of cloud with some light and fairly patchy rain. For the north of Scotland, we've got some clearer skies at the moment, and it's also rather chilly. And then you run back into this band of rain, heavy, but with some hill snow and that around Fife, and some patchy rain across the southern uplands. The north of England, for a bit of cloud around, and that extends also into the Midlands. So you're getting the picture. There is a lot of cloud around, and much breezier than it was yesterday. So it will feel much, especially if you're close to the east coast, it will feel quite raw. Now, later on, we'll have this rain west. It's going to be quite slowly moving eastwards, but it'll be quite windy around it. And as it bumps into the colder air across the Pennines and Scotland, we'll see some snow, largely even across the northeast of England, around Perth and Stirling, for example, Fife. We could have snow, slushy snow at lower levels. And it's going to be rather windy across the Pennines, so this might lead to disruption overnight. Now, tomorrow we'll start off with the rain and also the snow, eventually very slowly move away into the North Sea. Behind it, dry and also much milder. And then as we head into Sunday, a cloudy day with some fog in the start with, and then later on in the day, more rain sweeps in to the southwest. So it really is quite unsettled with cloud, with rain, and with largely hill snow.
Very much. Let's have a little look through some of the front pages for you. Front page of The Independent, fire for selling arms to Bahrain. A lot of emphasis now, people looking at our connections business-wise, politically with Bahrain. This morning, we'll be talking to our correspondents. Funerals taking place for some of those killed, and heightened tensions there, of course. We'll find out more throughout the morning.
And we found out yesterday Barack and Michelle Obama are going to make a state visit to the UK in May, and a photograph of the last time that Michelle Obama met the Queen there. Criticism of a departure from protocol or a lovely intimate gesture is the photograph they're reminding us of. Their main story, though, almost 3 million people are employed by councils after an explosion, in quotes, in crazy non-jobs, also in quotes, according to the coalition.
Of the Daily Mail, looking back to those announcements yesterday in Devon. How many more child victims of Facebook's sex gang? This was the warning from police about what's been happening down there. Victims thought to be implied with drink and drugs, they're suggesting.
The welfare yesterday on the front of the Daily Express this morning, work shy to lose benefits, and a different on the story on the Daily Mirror, well, unfair, David Cameron's harshest welfare shake-up for more than 60 years, says the paper.
That's a brief look at the front pages for you. 6:04 is the time.
Over £500 million of council tax not year. Simon has more on that. Morning, Simon.
Morning to you. Yes, at a time, of course, when local councils are finding money extremely scarce. There's figures from this morning show that 6% of council tax went uncollected this year, and this is at a time of big cuts. Unsurprisingly, the figures where the biggest uncollected sums were involved took place in metropolitan urban authorities. Manchester City Council failed to collect just over £8 million in the tax year. Arrears over the past 18 years are over £35 million. Authorities failed to collect just shy of £15 million last year. Their arrears since '93 are £69 million. And in Liverpool, the shortfall in the last financial year was over £12 million. Since 1993, over £58 million of tax hasn't been collected. Council with the lowest shortfall were small or prosperous areas. For example, Merton in southwest London, just £1,700 went uncollected. Well, Tony Travers is a local government expert at the London School of Economics. Morning, Tony.
Morning.
It appears to be worse in urban areas. Not that surprising. Transients, or is there something else going on there?
I think it is transients, particularly where people moving around all the time and it's difficult for the council to follow people. But I think in some big city areas, there may even still be just the slightest ghost of the poll tax. Remember all those years ago, 20 now, when people didn't pay, can't pay, won't pay. And that's fed through to, and even today affects some city authorities, but I think particularly it's transients.
Now, 94% actually sounds not that bad. I mean, is it actually worth tracking down the bits that you're not collecting, or to the point where, the cost of collecting